Chapter 1086, The Mysterious Big Totoro. Uncle Yu knew that his foundation was not very strong. Although he was only in his 40s, he did look a little old in the shelter. Therefore, after receiving the fragment of the Source of God from Jangey, he was extremely grateful to Jangey in his heart, and he also vowed that he must not live up to Jangey's trust, let alone drag him down. Therefore, Uncle Yu also exercised very hard every day. After a few months of exercise, Jangey looked at Uncle Yu's strength and calculated based on his experience that Uncle Yu's ability index has now reached an astonishing 7,000 points. In the investigation team, it is already the level of an elite team member. In comparison, Fatty Sue is much lazier. He is fat and not very mobile, but Uncle Yu took him to run in the snow every day to train him, which was enough for Fatty Sue. Every time he came back from exercise, he lay in the room and gasped like Lele. However, Jangey did not pity him for this, but asked Uncle Yu to increase the intensity of training. The ability index is a comprehensive score. Physical fitness, abilities, skills, combat thinking, etc. are all the criteria for scoring. Fatty Sue's talent should be stronger than Uncle Yu. But he is timid and cowardly by nature, and he is also lazy, so when he really fights, he is not as brave as Uncle Yu. Jangey gave him a low score, which is about 6,800 points. If you improve your physical fitness and enhance your ability to dodge and escape on the battlefield, you'll be stronger, Jangey said to Fatty Sue, who was exhausted. Fatty Sue took a few deep breaths and finally swallowed his saliva after taking a deep breath and said to Jangey, "Boss, I am a born useless person. Can't he stay behind and play long range with a sniper rifle like you? I can't run." Jangey heard this, and his eyes gradually became erratic. "You like to play sniper, right? Okay." He didn't say much nonsense, and directly took out an anti-material sniper rifle from the alien space and threw it on his stomach. This almost sent Fatty Sue away. Fuck. Fatty Sue rolled his eyes and almost burst out his gastric juice. Only this large-caliber sniper rifle is useful on the battlefield. It weighs 15 kilograms. You don't have spatial abilities. I wonder if you can run with it. Fatty Sue's face turned green. Huh.
Oh, you.
Train hard in the future, Jangey said, turning his head to look at Uncle Yu, who was shirtless and showing off his solid tendon muscles. Uncle Yu usually trains like this, so he has good physical fitness and is not afraid of the cold. Uncle Yu, take out the attitude you used when you were a squad leader to train new recruits, and train him hard. Uncle. Yu scratched his head honestly. Okay. He glanced at Fatty Sue lying on the ground, and his expression quickly became serious. Then he walked over and kicked Fatty Sue's fat thigh hard. Get up. You've only run less than 10 kilometers, and you're lying here like a dead dog for who to see? If you can't finish 20 kilometers today, don't have dinner. Fatty Sue's face became uglier and uglier. Before he could respond, Uncle Yu picked him up like a chicken and walked out. Jangey shook his head helplessly. For a fat man weighing 200 kilograms, going through this kind of training is indeed very torturous. But in order to increase Fatty Sue's survival rate on the battlefield in the future, Jangey had to do this.
If
you can't bear the hardship of training now, you'll have to suffer the pain of death and injury in the future. Are you training Fatty Sue again? Zhou Kutter came over with a cup of hot tea, smiling. Recently, her abilities have also been improving, but the improvement of auxiliary abilities such as doctor does not require physical training, but repeated practice. Jangey took the cup of hot tea, and Zhou Kutter immediately sat down next to him. Her elegant figure is so moving no matter how you look at it. In the living room, two cute animals were playing and fighting. One is Hua, and the other one is the big chinchilla that Jangey caught and brought back. It is furry all over and has huge antlers on its head. It is very cute, especially when it runs. It looks like a cute creature in Miyazaki's animation. Of course, Jangey knows it inside and out. This thing is as powerful as a captain-level alien. That's why Jangey asked Hua to look after it. Today, Hua also has the potential of Ypsilon level and an ability index of up to 9,800 points. At the beginning, this big chinchilla was still very unconvinced and liked to show his teeth. However, There is nothing that Hua can't solve with a slap. If there is, then give it 2 more slaps. So now, the reason why the big chinchilla behaves so well at home is that it was beaten. Is there any progress in the research of this guy? Jangey looked at the big chinchilla and asked Zhou Kur when he brought the chinchilla back, because this strange creature had a special reaction to the source of God. So as soon as he came back, Jangey asked Zhou Kur to draw blood samples from it for research. Zhou Kur smiled and shook her head helplessly. I have studied its blood, hair, and feces. But this creature has mutated, and it is impossible to determine which species it is. However, some of its gene sequences are similar to humans. About 30% of the composition is the same. Jangey raised his eyebrows. So, it is just a mutated creature that appeared on Star Island. Is that all? Zhou Kur rolled her eyes. Well, but there is one thing about it that is really interesting. Jangey looked at her curiously. Oh, where's? Zhou Kur replied, it can survive in an anaerobic environment. This is hard to imagine for terrestrial creatures. Jangey raised his eyebrows. I see. This is probably why it doesn't worry about being affected by the miasma. Because it doesn't need to breathe oxygen. It doesn't care about toxins? Zhou Kur rolled her eyes. But there are some strange things. I found some never-before-seen gene sequences in it. It doesn't match any creature in the world. Jangey blinked. That's hard to say. After all, in the era of great mutations, many people have undergone genetic mutations. Or maybe it has something to do with the monster under the abyss of the fog valleys? Zhangyi's mind was full of ideas. Underground creatures? If it were in the past, he would definitely think this was a very funny thing. But he saw the huge black-armored monster with his own eyes. He also heard about the strange things in the Qinling mountains from the Deng family. At this time, he had to suspect that perhaps there were really many things in this world that they had never heard of, and they began to slowly appear after the end of the world. Chapter 1087 Pressure. 3 months passed in a flash. During these 3 months, nothing special happened in Tianhai City. It was just that Zhang Yi trained Lu Dahai and sent him back to the Chaoyu base. He planned to train Lu Dahai and let Lu Dahai take over Qinjingwan's position. In order to quickly improve Lu Dahai's strength, he took a dose of medicine provided by the Deng family and gave it to Lu Dahai. Lu Dahai was very grateful to Zhang Yi. Mr. Zhang, from now on, I am your dog. As long as you need me to do anything, I will do it even if I die. He kowtowed on the ground very piously. He knew in his heart that now he had nothing to give Zhang Yi except this life. In order to survive well in Tianhai City, he was willing to sacrifice his life. This is also a gambler's mentality. If you win the bet, you have everything. If you lose the bet, it's just a rotten life. Many fishermen at sea have this awareness. Only in this way can they survive in the harsh struggle environment. Zhang Yi looked down at him and said calmly, after you go back, I will make you Qinjingwan's second in command. He will doubt you and suppress you. But you have to endure all this, don't rebel, and don't cause any trouble for me. And you have to actively cooperate with his work and maintain the Chaoyu base. If Qinjingwan can maintain the Chaoyu base well, you will follow him obediently. But if he is useless, sooner or later you will have the opportunity to take the position. He trained Lu Dahai just to buy an insurance. Once an enemy appears on the sea one day, it will be difficult for Qinjingwan to protect the Chaoyu base with his strength. At that time, Lu Dahai can play a role. However, if everything is calm, he does not want there to be a change of power in the Chaoyu base. Otherwise, the other 2 major bases will also be defensive against him. This is not conducive to the unity of Tianhai City. Lu Dahai kowtowed quickly. Yes, I will do whatever Mr. Zhang tells me to do. Zhang Yi reached out and helped Lu Dahai up with a meaningful smile on his face. I know you are a person with ideas, but remember everything I said today. For me, the most important thing is the stability of Chaoyu Port. So don't think about making trouble and getting rid of Qinjingwan. Once there is any unrest in Chaoyu Port and it affects the stability of Tianhai City, I will not look for evidence, but will directly deal with you and Qinjingwan. Lu Dahai's body suddenly became a little stiff. He felt that the burden on his shoulders was much heavier. In this way, He must cooperate with Chen Jingwan's work. Jangey looked into the distance. It was snowing heavily today. The sky was white, and nothing could be seen more than 10 meters away. The two people stood in the snow, like two tiny black dots. If people want to get promoted, there are usually two ways. The first is to push the person above you up, and he may help you after he gets promoted. The second is to get rid of the person above you and replace him. But this method can only be used once, so after you do this, all your superiors will be on guard against you in the future. Lu Dahai looked at Jangey, and he understood what Jangey meant. If he gets rid of Chen Jingwan in order to get promoted, he will lose Zhangyi's trust. Because he can get rid of Chen Jingwan, naturally one day in the future, he may stab Zhangyi in the back. Lu Dahai secretly swallowed his saliva and quickly made a solemn promise. Please rest assured, Mr. Zhang. I will work hard after I go back, and I will never have any ill intentions. Zhangyi nodded and said lightly, this is the best. He brought Lu Dahai and his 3 brothers to the Chaoyu base. Chen Jingwan naturally came to greet Zhangyi cautiously.
Boss.
Why did you come here in person? Do you have any important instructions? Chen Jingwan asked carefully, but his eyes still passed over Lu Dahai and the other 2 behind Zhangyi. A look of surprise and uncertainty flashed in his eyes. Zhangyi pointed at Lu Dahai behind him and said, there is a talent in your base. I took him back to observe for a few days and helped you train him. Let him be the second in command of Chaoyu base in the future to help you manage the base. He walked up to Chen Jingwan, put one hand on his shoulder, and whispered in his ear. He is a Delta-level alien with good combat effectiveness. Chaoyu base is now lacking talents in this area. You must make good use of him. Chen Jingwan was shocked and subconsciously glanced at Lu Dahai, feeling a little heavy in his heart. Zhangyi said again, whether you can control him depends on your ability. Think about Zhu Zheng and your distant relative Chen Xinyan. Learn how to control your subordinates. Zhangyi was reminding Chen Jingwan not to be jealous of his subordinates because they are more capable than you and exclude them. Instead, you should be good at using the abilities of your subordinates to serve you. At the same time, he was also reminding Chen Jingwan not to have any small thoughts about Lu Dahai. Lu Da, after all, Hai was brought by Zhangyi himself, which showed Zhangyi's attitude. Chen Jingwan didn't dare to object, and hurriedly smiled and said, Boss, what you arranged must be correct. Brother Dahai, I will have to trouble you to cooperate with my work in the future. Lu Dahai hurriedly said, No, I will follow your instructions in the future. Zhangyi nodded and didn't intend to get involved. He would wait and see what happened next and see how the 2 of them could balance their relationship. Anyway, even if something went wrong for him, the Chaoyu base would not be out of control. By the way, I asked you to be careful of mutant creatures a few months ago. How are you doing, Su? Zhangyi asked casually. Chen Jingwan's mind was working fast, and then he remembered that thing. He quickly replied, At that time, according to your request, we have made preparations. Don't worry, Chaoyu base will never be affected by any snakes, insects, rats, or ants. Our defenses are very appropriate. Zhangyi nodded. That's good. I can't take care of you 3 families every day. Your life is your own, so you should pay more attention. After explaining the matter, Zhangyi opened the dimensional door and left Chaoyu base. Lu Dahai and Chen Jingwan looked at each other. Lu Dahai bent his waist, his face full of flattery. Chen Jingwan had a humble smile on his face, but in fact, he was extremely wary of Lu Dahai in his heart. He felt a huge pressure. Lu Dahai is his replacement. If one day he does not do his job well, Zhangyi will let Lu Dahai replace him and become the manager of Chaoyu base. Chapter 1088. Insect Swarm. In a place Zhangyi couldn't see, undercurrents were surging in Tianhai City. It was winter, the coldest winter in Tianhai City. Outside the shelter, it was always snowing so heavily that people couldn't see the distant view. Inside the shelter, it was warm and peaceful. The fireplace was burning, and the flames were warm. Hua and the big chinchilla had become familiar with each other. The 2 cute pets played and fought in the room all day long, from upstairs to the deep basement. Yang Xia and Aunt Zhou Jaime were in the open kitchen, studying how to bake new cakes to welcome the upcoming festival. Fatty Sue was pressed by Uncle Yu in the training ground in the basement, undergoing devilish training every day. After a few months, his skin was peeling off. Others were also busy. Although they were not idle, they were extremely relaxed. The inside of the shelter and the outside world were like two completely different worlds. In the distance of the shelter, a thick piece of ice and snow suddenly had a tiny crack. Then a blue cockroach appeared from the crack. Its body was the size of a palm, and it had a layer of blue frost crystals on it. After crawling out from under the snow pile, it looked cautiously at the huge shelter in the distance. After a long time, it returned to the underground again. Passing through the thick ice and snow and frozen soil, it came to the dark and damp sewer pipe. This pipe, which had been abandoned for a year, was densely crawling with cockroaches of various sizes. After the blue cockroach returned to the underground, it seemed to communicate with the cockroach group. Not long after, in the long and huge underground network, the terrifying army of cockroaches began to bypass the shelter that exuded a terrifying atmosphere, just like a river had to separate when it encountered a boulder and rushed to other areas. On this day, the city was closed by heavy snow, and everyone was trapped in the house and could not get out. However, the three major bases were not as leisurely as the people in the shelter. They had already adapted to this kind of cold, and even in the heavy snow, everyone had to work. Resting was a luxury for them. Even if they could not work according to the rules of 007, they only had 2 days off every month. In blizzard weather, everyone must come out in time to clear the snow outside the base. Otherwise, according to convention, if the blizzard continues for 1 day and 1 night, the top of the entire underground shelter will be completely covered, which is very troublesome. So, around the Chaoyu base, everyone wore thick clothes and started working with snow-clearing tools in the heavy snow. Lu Dahai and Chen Jingguan were also supervising nearby. Chen Jingguan had his hands behind his back, looking calm and composed. He claimed to have received higher education and always presented himself as a Confucian general in the army. Therefore, when commanding work, he often liked to let his subordinates convey his will to avoid affecting his image because of his yelling. But Lu Dahai didn't care about these. He kept Zhangyi's words in mind and tried his best to maintain the order of the Chaoyu base, so he had been working hard to cooperate with Chen Jingguan's work. The two have been working together for some time. Chen Jingguan has always been on guard against Lu Dahai. In daily work, he often knocks him and assigns him some difficult or offensive work. Lu Dahai worked hard and obeyed orders to complete the task. Until now, the relationship between the two has at least eased on the surface. Clean up the area near the base entrance first. Otherwise, the snow will accumulate more and more, and it will be troublesome if it blocks the entrance. It's so cold, the snow will not melt even if it stops. It will freeze into a block, and it will take 3 to 5 days to clean it up. Lu Dahai shouted loudly, directing the laborers in the base to work. The laborers worked silently, cursing this damn weather, the damn Doomsday, and this damn Lu Dahai and Chen Jingguan and other dog leaders in their hearts. But they didn't dare to be lazy about the work they had to do. If they were discovered, they might have to forfeit their dinner today. A laborer raised the snow shovel in his hand, inserted it into the snow pile, then stepped down twice with his feet, and then lifted it up with force. But after the snow shovel was lifted up, he suddenly found a big black hole in the snow. Huh? Why is there an empty space? The laborer curiously went over to check. The next moment, the most terrifying and final scene in his life came into view. From the dark snow cave, a cockroach head as big as a human had suddenly emerged, and then pounced on his face. Ah! The cockroach opened its mouth parts, and its sharp forelimbs with barbs pierced directly into his face. Puff! His face was torn off with a sound. In such a cold environment, coupled with the fact that the cockroaches ate a lot of rotten meat and garbage, their bodies were poisonous. The laborer's eyes went black and he fell to the ground. The cockroach lay on his head, and regardless of the other frightened workers around him, it began to gnaw on his head. Then, the dark hole quickly expanded, and then cockroaches of all sizes poured out of the hole like a tide. At this time, Those frightened workers, the workers just woke up. Such a horrifying scene made them lose their souls. They immediately dropped their tools and screamed like crazy, running in the opposite direction of the cockroach group. The huge snow cave seemed to be an endless magic weapon. Cockroaches emerged continuously from it and soon flooded the entire snowy land. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Some huge cockroaches flapped their wings and flew into the air, then pounced on the workers. This moment happened in just a moment, and no one expected it. Humans may be born with a dislike for cockroaches, and even a little afraid of this extremely difficult-to-kill, disgusting thing. When Lu Dahai saw this scene, he immediately remembered the order Jangey had issued, but at that time, Chen Jingguan only responded perfunctorily. There was no thorough inspection around the base. But who would have thought that so many mutant cockroaches would emerge? Quick, fire blockade, fire blockade. Don't let them get close to the base. Lu Dahai shouted loudly. A brown light flashed in his eyes, and then his whole body underwent obvious changes. His skin turned into the color of water plants, and fine scales grew on it. 2 bone knives popped out from his arms with a clang sound. He pulled out a pistol from his waist and shot several giant cockroaches. Under his leadership, the guards of other bases also reacted and immediately rushed over and began to attack the huge and terrifying cockroach group with gunfire. Chapter 1089. Collapse at the touch of a touch. Because the snow was too heavy, almost everyone in the base ran out to clear the snow. The sudden appearance of the cockroach tide caught everyone off guard. Under the leadership of Lu Dahai, the soldiers of the guard team began to take out their weapons and launched an attack on the cockroach tide. Chen Jingguan, who was directing everyone's work in the rear, was shocked when he saw this. He also hurriedly turned on the loudspeaker and gave orders to everyone loudly. Children under the age of 14 should hide in the shelter quickly. The guards will guard the entrance and never let the insects enter the underground. Flamethrower ready. Chen Jingguan saw the terrifying cockroach tide and felt an instinctive fear in his heart. Among the 3 major bases in Tianhai City, the strength of Chaoyu base is the weakest. Now, their number of aliens is less than 10. In the previous wars in Tianhai City, more than 70% of the defense force was destroyed. Later, as Zhangyi's strength became stronger and stronger, Tianhai City had not experienced a large-scale crisis for quite a long time. It was not until this moment that he recalled the fear of being shrouded by death. A strong regret emerged in his heart. If he had paid more attention when Zhangyi reminded him, the entire base would not have been attacked so suddenly without any preparation. Everyone follow me, stop them. Chen Jingguan pulled out the pistol on his waist and rushed to the front line quickly. Bang! 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 With a firm look in his eyes, he fired bullet after bullet at the cockroaches flying in the air. More than a dozen workers had been thrown to the ground by cockroaches and began to bite them fiercely, with wailing sounds resounding throughout the area. Use heavy firearms, Chen Jingguan shouted. The guards began to throw grenades, and a grenade exploded in the dark swarm of insects, immediately clearing a large area. But in less than 2 seconds, the area was soon filled with cockroaches again. The dark cave seemed to be gushing out cockroaches endlessly. The smallest cockroach was only the size of a finger, and the largest was even more than 2 meters long, already a monster. Since the Chaoyu base was not well prepared, the anti-insect equipment was not brought in until very late. Flamethrower is one of the best weapons against this kind of insect swarm. In addition, there are grenades and rockets. Lu Dahai stood in front of the cockroach tide like a swimming fish. After injecting the medicine given to him by Zhangyi, his ability index has now reached 6,000 points, which is the level of an ordinary member of the investigation team. He waved the bone blade on his arm in front of the cockroach tide, and specially selected those giant cockroaches to fight. He had no way to deal with small cockroaches, but this kind of thing was only disgusting at most, and could not cause much harm to the people in the base in a short time. But those large guys can really eat people. The black cockroach tide flooded the entire land, and in less than a minute, it completely compressed the human defense line and approached the underground shelter. Even some small cockroaches have flapped their wings and flew into the shelter. Hu dash. The soldier using the flamethrower roared, turning the flamethrower to the maximum, and the flames more than 10 meters long could devour tens of thousands of cockroaches at once. However, this kind of thing is not afraid of death, and their existence is only for eating and reproduction. Soon, some soldiers were also climbed up their trouser legs by cockroaches. Aha! The soldier screamed in fear. In the blink of an eye, tens of thousands of cockroaches covered his whole body. He screamed in fear and pain, but he did not die immediately. The cockroaches had limited attack power. They were hungry and bit the soldier's flesh and blood. It was as painful as slow slicing for him. But he could not die in a short time. The soldier fell to the ground and rolled madly, but he could not reduce the number of cockroaches on his body. Instead, more cockroaches crawled on his body. Chen Jingguan's face was full of grief, and he shot the soldier to death. "Boss, let's retreat," a guard shouted to Chen Jingguan anxiously. At this rate, it was only a matter of time before they were completely swallowed by the tide of cockroaches. Chen Jingguan looked at the square. The incident happened suddenly. Most people had no power to fight back and were still running back desperately. If he entered the shelter and closed the door at this time, he could survive. But all these people would die. Chen Jingguan's eyes were red. He gritted his teeth hard, and his fists clenched with a click. He felt so regretful that he almost wanted to slap himself. If he had listened to Jangey and taken the mutated cockroaches more seriously, he would never be in such a miserable state today. At this point, he had no way out. If he ran away and caused half of the people in the Chaoyu base to die in the cockroach tide, Jangey would never let him
Go.
Retreating would surely lead to death, so it would be better to fight hard and carve out a bloody path. Don't retreat. If you retreat, your family and friends will all die. Concentrate your firepower, guard the entrance, and let the children come in first. Chen Jingguan threw a grenade with force, blowing up a group of cockroaches. At the same time, he made an emergency call to Jangey. "Hey, boss, help, help." Jangey received a call from Chen Jingguan and saw that he was almost collapsed. Jangey frowned. "What's wrong, enemy attack?" "Boss, cockroaches, so many cockroaches. The base can't be defended anymore. Please come and save us." Jangey's eyebrows immediately stood up. Cockroaches? He himself did not expect that his guess in his heart would come true. So soon, those mutant cockroaches would pose such a big threat to the base in Tianhai City. Of course, Jangey could not sit idly by. Chaoyu Base was his important seaport and fishing base. "Wait for me." Jangey's voice had just fallen. Swish. In an instant, they disappeared from the spot and headed straight for the Chaoyu Base. At Chaoyu Harbor, workers fell down in pain one by one and became food for cockroaches. Above those small cockroaches, there were big guys that were as big as cattle and sheep after mutation. They stared at the living people with dim eyes and flapped their wings to kill them. Lu Dahai and Chen Jingguan led the guards to try their best to stop them. They killed many cockroaches, but these bugs took advantage of every opportunity and soon killed them at their feet. The defense circle retreated again and again.
Boom.
Suddenly, there was a loud noise from underground, and the thick ice and snow on the ground were directly shaken away. From below, a giant cockroach more than 3 meters long and standing like a human crawled out. Its carapace was a disgusting feces yellow color, and its sharp jaws moved slightly, and then it rushed straight to the soldiers in the defense circle. Chen Jingguan, Lu Dahai, and others felt their scalps numb. Such a huge group of cockroaches, growing like a goo, will devour each other when there is a lack of food. Who knows what kind of monster will eventually be brewed? Can they still stop it? Chapter 1090 Eraser. The giant mutant cockroach emerged from under the snow, causing huge casualties as soon as it appeared. Its sharp claws and sharp jaws can easily open the soldier's skull and suck the brain. This thing seems to be very picky, only eating the most delicious brain, and then the body falls down and is immediately covered by other cockroaches. In a blink of an eye, 7 or 8 soldiers were killed by it. Flamethrower, bullets, grenades have little effect on it. Chun Jingguan gritted his teeth. Damn it, let me do it. He jumped up, and his whole body rushed towards the cockroach like a spring. The giant cockroach entangled with him, flapping its wings, and then attacked Chun Jingguan with its sharp claws. Chun Jingguan's ability, Rubber Man, is the most restraining for melee aliens and beasts. He flexibly dodged the attack of the giant cockroach, and then wrapped around its body like a python, and when he completely wrapped around the cockroach, he began to strangle it. Crack, crack. The giant cockroach felt pain, and cracks appeared on its shell. It tried desperately to cut Chun Jingguan's body, but the Rubber Man had a high resistance to this kind of physical attack, so Chun Jingguan ignored it. You die. Chun Jingguan roared angrily. He had to kill these big guys first because they were the real danger. As long as they were solved, the remaining small cockroaches would be troublesome, but they could be cleaned up slowly to minimize the loss of the entire base. The python-like body continued to exert force, and the giant cockroach's body began to deform and twist. But at this moment, some holes on the giant cockroach's body suddenly opened, and then a large ball of yellow gas was sprayed out. Chun Jingguan did not take precautions early, so he did not wear combat uniforms. This yellow gas was involuntarily inhaled into his body, and soon his face turned black, and his eyes were dark. The body tightly wrapped around the giant cockroach also fell down limply. The giant cockroach squeaked excitedly, then turned around, raised its knife-like forelimbs, and chopped down at Chun Jingguan. At this time, no one could help him, because Lu Dahai had entered the battlefield earlier than him, relying on his own strength to fight many giant cockroaches. At the critical moment, Jangey finally arrived. Only he could cross the distance of almost the entire Tianhai city to support in such a short time. Jangey was suspended in midair, and he couldn't help swallowing his saliva when he saw the scene in front of him. The snow field within a radius of several kilometers was actually covered with that disgusting thing. Jangey's intensive phobia broke out. However, he still acted quickly, raised his right hand and flicked his fingers, and more than a dozen void blades directly chopped the giant cockroach. Shwa! Jangey instantly shuttled to the side of Chun Jingguan and rescued him from the danger of being swallowed by the cockroach swarm. The scene in front of him made him frown. The cockroach swarm had already entangled with the people in the base. He could certainly kill all these cockroaches, but what about these laborers? After thinking for a moment, Jangey made a decision in his heart. He raised his hand and opened a dimensional door at the entrance of the base and shouted to everyone, "Come back, quickly." As he spoke, he took out the white owl and began to shoot continuously at the large individuals in the cockroach group. One after another, black beams shot out from the muzzle of the white owl, and then with the blessing of accurate shooting ability, all the most threatening cockroaches were dissolved into particle state. Everyone didn't know what Jangey was thinking, but they believed in Jangey because Jangey is now the patron saint of Tianhai City. Under Zhangyi's cover, the pressure faced by everyone in the Chaoyu base was much less. Although many people were crawling with cockroaches, these little guys were just a little disgusting and would not pose a life threat to people in a short time. Jangey was wearing a beige coat and stood calmly at the entrance of the shelter, with the two worlds protecting his body. Two pistols continuously sprayed black beams. Each beam of light would kill a giant cockroach. As for the small cockroach swarms, he didn't care at all, letting them follow humans into his alien space. Those who entered the alien space would be instantly transferred to the shelter by Jangey so that they would not be harmed by the alien space. But the cockroach swarm was transferred to a few kilometers away and then repeated the charge. Less than 2 minutes later, everyone was rescued by Jangey. The huge cockroach tide was really like a wave, and it even piled up high as 5 or 6 meters. When these disgusting little guys gathered together, their cries were extremely creepy. "Okay, everyone who should be rescued has been rescued," Jangey said lightly, and then he turned the white owl in his hands gracefully. "Start clearing the field." The white owl has now been transformed and added with the world's latest energy storage laser equipment. It can store the energy of aliens and then emit it in the form of energy waves. So as long as it is used skillfully, the output power can be completely controlled. Jangey raised his hands, his mouth curled up to reveal his white teeth. Hey! He pulled the trigger, and a series of black light balls shot towards the cockroach tied in front. Without strong energy fluctuations, after the void power fell, a small spherical space would appear. In an instant, within the space of dozens of cubic meters, all the cockroaches disappeared. It was like using an eraser to remove the stains scribbled on a notebook. Jangey was already an Epsilon-level alien at this time, and the energy in his body was so huge that it far exceeded the imagination of ordinary aliens. One after another, the void bullets were fired, gorgeous like a black firework. The huge cockroach tide disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. A minute later, the front of Chaoyu Base was quiet. Almost all the cockroaches were cleaned up by Jangey, leaving only a few scattered cockroaches still crawling towards the shelter fearlessly on the ground. Jangey put the gun back into the sheath with a handsome move, untied the barrier in front of the shelter door, and then turned and walked over. Everyone behind him was shocked by Jangey's handsome rescue. Looking at Jangey's eyes, it was like looking up to God. Several soldiers hurriedly took the flamethrower and went out to clear the remaining sporadic cockroaches. Mr. Zhang. Lu Dehai panted and bowed his head respectfully to Jangey. The survivors of the base also saluted and called him Mr. Jangey nodded, looking past them and looking at Qinling, who was being rescued on the side. His current condition is very bad. His whole face is black, like a dead person. The poisonous mist sprayed by the cockroach, who knows how many kinds of viruses, no one can withstand it if you inhale it without wearing a gas mask. This video ends here. Stay tuned for more episodes. Please subscribe if you have not already. And like the video. Thanks.